Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to me, Dave Pumphouse, with part 2 of the last of the Motch'Ikans campaign, a 40k Kriegsspiel experience. Yes. Oh, it's turn 2. People have been very busy giving orders. It's amazing how much time it takes when you give generals free reign to order whatever they like. And, you know, there's no limits. As I said to the commander of the Amplexus Pathfinders, the world is your oyster. And he said, I have no idea what you're talking about. He'd never heard that saying before in his life. But I digress. Yes, at the last video, I did tease that the next one I'd talk about a little bit of Chinese whispers. So we did a little bit of a role-play kind of story thing for the general of the Amplexus Pathfinders, because they did steal a transport to get down here. They didn't want to land at the spaceport. They wanted to be different. They wanted to be special. So they stole a transport, and we rolled the dice, and it wasn't the best of landings. No one died, but the transport is stranded over here with Captain Pippin and Captain Frodo. Yes, he has named them after Lord of the Rings characters. Crash landed here, and they've offloaded the supplies and everything, got them into North Harbour, doing a little bit of scouting, seeing if there's any enemy around. But their compatriots, once they realised that the Amplexus Pathfinders had not departed at the same time as they did, and B, stolen the transport, they immediately thought that the Amplexus Pathfinders were heretics. And yeah, and a little game of Chinese whispers did occur. Now, the key piece of that was this little company down here, because if you think about a spacecraft, you're not sure how to really control it all that well. Maybe the controls are a little bit new. Each one of these squares is 10 by 10 miles, so like 100 square miles. And I was thinking, well, you know, if the spaceport's down here and, you know, angle of trajectory and stuff like that, maybe coming north, anyone over here, or, you know, or even here, might have seen the spacecraft, the transport, coming in for a crash landing. And just so happens that because we made these guys kind of like Mohicans, who aren't the best with technology, they thought it was a comet. And we had immediately Chinese whispers snowballing into, oh, it's an Orc rock. Dave Pumphouse has given us an Orc rock to contend with even more orcs that might be around here somewhere. It's going to be carnage. And the Amplexus Pathfinders, screw them. They're heretics, apparently. Until, you know, we had to kind of maybe role play in the Discord a little bit and say, guys, calm yourself. You know, you all got to work together. Maybe they're not heretics. Maybe they just wanted to beat you down there first, and the dice was a bit rubbish. So, but it does introduce a interesting scenario. Will the rest of the players want to try and save the Amplexus Pathfinders before they potentially get wiped out by this big horde, by Mugzod Mad Chopper, who has managed to take a respo? And this little white piece here, refugees. Yes, we've given the players refugees to deal with, because, well, war is war after all, and civilians get caught in the crossfire. And people have been role-playing when they were over by West Plain, down near Red Hook here. They were like, we got to get the civilians out. We got to save them. We've got to get them into the Valkyries, and we've got to get them back to the capital city, and somewhere safe, which is kind of nice. You know, some people out there are thinking about civilians. But a nice little interesting thing over here. You've got Griphook Ragnash he did this turn, or even last turn, take the town of Sockton. And it just goes to show that you never show your hand or even hint at something before giving out everyone's orders, because as soon as I kind of asked one player what their availability might have been like for a Kriegsspiel, the players worked out where it was going to be and changed their orders, amended their intent a little bit, and then said, right, I'm going to go over to Sockton. I want to be part of this battle. So we had the 1st Jotunheim heavy infantry who were borrowing some Valkyries from the Clendathu Sisters of Steel and I think it's the priestly kind of regiment, the Purgatones something. It's Latin for something. Anywho, so they immediately came down, and we were going to give them a battle. We drew up a map, but it just so happened that Griphook Ragnash was not in that square. He had moved with his entire dudes, so we were kind of going to maybe have a few blocks loitering around, maybe looting what was left of the town, as orcs do and stuff like that. But when you've got 13,000 men and Motch'Ikans coming out of Valkyries, if you don't know what a Valkyrie is, it's basically a 40k kind of Huey/jet type of transport, infantry transport type of thing. 13,000 men. I was like, no, there's no point. I mean, I would have loved to have done it, but we had to kind of fudge it and say, they've bugged out, which they did. They were moving down south here to Pine Falls, but you just basically caught the rear of them and the stragglers type of thing. So that was an interesting development. We have over here a horde smashed into Follerton. Everyone was chasing after Griphook Ragnash, and they forgot about Follerton. If he's over in Sockton, chances are that he's over in Follerton as well, or at least a couple of blocks are. They missed the trick there, and unfortunately, we rolled some dice, and fortunately for the Motch'Ikan militia, they were on the button, but so were these guys. So I thought, well, it's a kind of draw. Maybe the Motch'Ikan militia see the writing on the wall and they retreat. They just grab some refugees, and they saying, right, okay, we're just going to have to go to Cornmouth. Well, what's Skagbaz Teethchewer up to? Well, Skagbaz Teethchewer, he was sitting here for the night, and I rolled some dice. I said, no, you don't hear or see anything. But he basically said, well, I'm going to split my guys up. I want 2 guys going back to Therapia, which is a little kind of market town here in the jungle, and I've got 2 guys watching Taramak, and I want 1 guy just going up to the Sarah, seeing if there's anything up there. And boy did he find a lot. So we told him there's about 20,000 troops that were marching along here. There's another 10,000 troops that are a little bit slow, and the 11th Land Under Assault Regiment, who are actually kind of siege engineers. They specialize in trench warfare and defense and stuff like that. They're actually digging in. They're we haven't told them that the orcs are nearby, although maybe the intelligence leak that we had earlier on in the week, where I accidentally uploaded the map, and basically some people saw all the positions of the orcs. They were good sports about it, but it seems like the 11th Land Dunder Regiment were like, right, with that information, I'm digging in. I'm not following the rest of the boys up here. I also threw a spanner in the works for the Hindenlichter CNP, open brackets, Zhao Baidan, close brackets. They got to the spaceport and they expected, who they've kind of elected their leader, who is, I believe, the guy who is in charge of the Prahagan Highlanders. He said, "Oh, I'm just going to let I'm just going to follow the orders that the Prahagan Highlanders have given." Well, that's fair enough, but you haven't given them any orders exactly. So, and they are actually a penal legion. They are the Hindenlichter, criminals needing punishment. Basically, that's what the CNP needs. So we landed them at the spaceport, and we said, you know what? They're criminals. It takes them a while to get ready. Although, you know, penal legions are kept under a tight leash. You didn't. So they saw an opportunity, and they basically just had a jolly in the capital city. So they're a little bit behind the curve. This is kind of midday on the second day, where people are marching and getting in their chimeras and making their way up to the line. Up in the front here, we've got the 25th Palace Leaf Hussars. That's what they're called, the Leaf Hussars. They're the armoured regiment. They're leading the way. But closely behind them is the 6th Bellefonds Grenadiers. They're kind of a mobile recon unit. They're very much like the Pathfinders. In fact, there's quite a few recon regiments in here. But yeah, it's progressing well. You know, the dice are throwing problems, and you know, we have to kind of give the role players something to think about as well. So we're doing that, and yeah, it's coming along well. Things to look out for in the next video. What will Skagbad's Teeth Chewer decide to do next? Will he preempt, or maybe scout out and do an assassination on a captain or a colonel around here? Will they try and chase after these guys and do a little bit of an ambush? It'll be 10,000 versus 300. Well, we'll say, well, that's his kind of HQ dude, so 200. Yeah, it'll be 200 versus 10,000. That would be an interesting type of Kriegsspiel, wouldn't it? What's going to be better? Being more mobile and hit and run, or 10,000 clumsy troops that are, yeah, seem to be quite slow on the mark. They're not acclimatizing to the jungle as some other people are. But obviously each regiment has their own speed calculator. So because these guys are in tanks, and these guys have got some sentinels and a few salamander scout tanks and stuff, they're a lot faster than some of the guys just in the chimeras and on foot. So yeah, that it's coming along nicely. But I mean, obviously we don't want grip hooked Ragnash to cop it too early, but he will have to decide what he wants to do. Now, his orders were to go to Pine Falls, but as the 1st Jotunheim regiment was coming across in those Valkyries across the mountains, they did strafe him. He has suffered some casualties. Will that piss him off just enough to maybe want to turn around and have a massive, great big battle over at Sockton? Maybe. Or maybe he might just say, sod it, I'm here to fight, but I still want to just kill civilians, so I'm just going to go over to Pine Falls. Yeah, and he's also ordered, the flags here, Mugzod Mad Chopper to head south. Will they try and join up? It seems like they might be trying to. And will that mean that we will not have our fight against the Amplexus Pathfinders? Because even though these things do look like they're close, he's technically on the other side of those mountains, and they're about 20 miles apart. So you have to take that into account. They won't see each other. Yeah, it's it's kicking off. It's nice. It's forming. It's forming a plan. It's you know, I'm quite interested to see where these things go. But I kind of hope that the Sisters of Steel and the Jotunheims don't steal all the glory for themselves by killing Griphook Ragnash, because that would be a disaster. That would be a disaster for Freddie Cumlight. His first real Kriegsspiel when he gets bumped off in the 3rd round. Sometimes that does happen, but hopefully not to our dear friend. But you know, we have to be, you know, all's fair in love and war, and we have to allow him to make his own mistakes. I was actually thinking at this point as well to maybe give, because, you know, Warhammer as it is, the more the orcs fight, the more stronger they get and the more they breed. So I thought maybe I might chuck a couple of extra blocks at the orcs. They might be a little bit under strength, but maybe not, you know, because it's only a test game. We don't want this game to drag on forever. We just want to see if a D100 system, and I should really be starting to roll more on film for you all, so you can actually see it in action properly. But some of these blocks don't actually have names or stats or anything attached to them yet, because, you know, I just haven't had time. But no, it's coming along nicely. It's a nice little narrative game. People seem to be enjoying themselves for the most part. I will try and get a proper Kriegsspiel in for everybody, so everyone gets a turn to, you know, use their troops as they want to, rather than just, you know, the big guy at the top just kind of pushing chits across the boards like a game of poker. Or, you know, if they defeat the orcs too early, who knows? Maybe there'll be a rebellion on their hands. We'll have to see. In any case, I hope you're enjoying the campaign as much as we are, and we'll see you on the next one.